Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this. Welcome back to Socrates Jones. I think it's part 5. We're in chapter 4. Last time, we argued with John Locke, and then our mom got into an argument with our dad, and she just got reset to her beliefs. Because, yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. We're going to go talk to our dad about getting yelled at by our mom. Hey, Dad, can we talk? Marcus, where's Dad? He went off to brood somewhere, I think. Jennifer's searching for him. Your mother's words really upset him. Well, kind of his fault. No kidding, brood is not a word I generally associate with Dad. I guess everyone saw the fight. I don't know what to say. I heard some history from Pythia, but I never imagined what it must be like for you. How are you holding up? My feelings are complicated. Dad and Mom were always different. I love him, and I looked up to her, you know? But when she first got into politics, I rooted for her, even if it meant she was away a lot. I thought she could make a difference. But now, I don't know. Dad and I have gotten closer, and she's just not the same. When we see each other, the cameras are always right there, like it's more about appeasing the family values crowd than spending time with me. What about you? Is your family perfect? You've always been close all my life, but as you said to Locke, nothing is perfect. Got an older brother, Regis. He's probably more intelligent than I, if only. If only what? I'm not sure what your life was like, but my parents, they had to make some hard choices. As the oldest, Regis was the one that was supposed to be sent to a fancy school. With tuition rates back then, my parents couldn't afford to send us both. Or even with tuition rates back then. But Big Brother wanted to make sure I had a shot, so he decided to enlist instead. Did well for himself there, Lieutenant General now, in charge of a whole division. He even helped provide funding and security for our portal research. But he never wanted to enlist, not originally. I always wondered what he'd be up to if things had been different, if more options had presented themselves. I owe him so much. Can you imagine, Ari? You've benefited so much from knowing these philosophers. Imagine a world where everyone reaps the fruits of that wisdom. That's what Pythia wants, what she's been working so hard for, sacrificed so much for. We're so close to achieving our dreams. I know. As much as I hate it, I should probably leave Dad to Jen. Sooner I get Mom out, the better, for all of us. I'll check on him later. Of course. Okay, I'm back. Pumpkin, how is he? Not sure. Jen's looking for him. Well, perhaps some distance is for the best. I know I was harsh, I was caught up in the moment, and he's always so cheerfully disconnected from everything. Drives me crazy. And his notes were like Twitter, if every tweet hit you in the face. He can be a lot, but he's also grown a lot. Has he? Doesn't show it. Have you given him a chance to? Honestly, this is just like the issue with politics. Everyone talks past each other. So your perspective hasn't changed, Ariadne Jones. I'll admit the debates have been interesting. Everyone here believes in the value of ideas. They listen and reflect. But then Mom reminds us. Then Mom reminds us of how things work in the real world, which will never stop being depressing. Probably best we press on then. I've already prepared the next philosopher. He should present an interesting contrast to the others. All the philosophers so far have been pretty different. True, but this one perhaps more so. What, is he not human? Talking deer or something? Give me but a moment to retrieve him and you'll find out. Oh, this is Karl Marx, right? I recognize this head shape. If it's not, well, that's definitely a human silhouette. Bummer. Who are you? Why are you standing in the shadow of that pillar? For too long, governments have been complicit in the exploitation of the working class. It's a damn commie. I guess that's why the title of the chapter was Seeing Red. That makes sense. God damn, I am seeing red. I'm seeing a damn communist. Okay, who's the Batman wannabe? I am no Batman. Batman is a... Oh. I'm the fearful whisper in the boardroom, the bane of injustice, the start of the uprising against the corrupt oppressive system. I am Karl Marx. Oh no. Arbiter, I have to object. Marx is communism, and communism is an economic system.
Nonsense.
Jesus. Nonsense. I am justice. Oh wow, we're nonsensing already. You will not regulate me out of this discussion, Senator. State and economy cannot be considered separately. They're conjoined twins. They come into the world together. Fate's bound from the start. I see. Born in the 19th century Prussia, Marx became stateless and traveled throughout Europe to spread the philosophy he wrote in Das Kapital and later the Communist Manifesto. His ideas became the flashpoint in the Cold War with communism an ideological goal of the Soviet Union. Look how well that turned out for him. You already have some familiarity with my ideas, impressions no doubt shaped through the lens of that conflict. I relish this opportunity to make my case anew, to fight for justice once more. This should be interesting. Manifest your manifesto, Marx. When private entities control the means of production, the relationship between employer and employee is unavoidably unjust. Workers must sell their labor in order to meet the basic needs, denigrating. That's a G, not a J. Denigrating their humanity and value. Business owners use cheap labor to benefit themselves, accumulating more capital, privilege, and economic power. This is accumulated power which makes such owners the real ruling class, turning any system into an oligarchy of the bourgeoisie. To be clear, we need communism. Maintaining communism requires thinking. I cannot read right now. I've been recording straight, and there's a lot of talking. I'm falling apart here. Maintaining communism requires rethinking government, and maintaining a government requires rethinking capitalism. Otherwise, all systems become mere tools for the bourgeoisie. Oligarchy. Bourgeoisie. Okay, I know what these mean, but I'll click to find these words for the sake of the viewer. Okay, could we review these terms just to be sure we're on the same page? An oligarchy is a small group of people who control everything. Oligarchy of the rich means the wealthy are the true puppeteers. The proletariat are the working class, those who sell their labor to survive. And the bourgeoisie are the property and business owners who have the resources and will to purchase the labor of others. Oligarchy of the rich added to the idea slate. Bourgeoisie, so that's how it's pronounced. Bourgeoisie. I always said bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie? How come no one ever corrected me? It's bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie. It was amusing. Sounds like a pasta. Bourgeoisie with cheese. I think I'm getting hungry again. Well, however these words are pronounced, my questions will be the same. Very well then, Ariadne, why don't we begin? When private entities control the means of production, the relationship between the employer and employee is unavoidably unjust. Well, that's simply an undeniable fact. What do you mean by this? Which is why we have stuff like unions and workers' protection and all that stuff. Those who control the production of essential goods have unchecked power over those workers. This were a game of chess. They would start with 3 times as many pieces. Bourgeoisie OP, please nerf. What? Nothing. Carry on. Carry on, Marx. I'm willing to define my terms. Why won't you? Clarify for him. Okay, fine. In games, something is OP or overpowered when it has an unfair advantage. A nerf is what you apply to make that something weaker, like replacing bullets with nerf bullets. Do I have to explain what a nerf gun is too? Oh, Ari, why are you such a frickin' nerd? I see. Then yes, the bourgeoisie must indeed be nerfed. I got an achievement for teaching Marx gaming terms. This game ever. This doesn't really need backing. The statement sort of stands on its own, but when you work for someone, your livelihood is in their hands. They determine how much you are worth and whether you can work at all. Even if they are kind with this power, the employer is in the dominant position. Workers must sell their labor in order to meet the basic needs, denigrating their humanity and value. Clarify that for me, please. Under capitalism, workers must sacrifice life and liberty to earn a living. This reduces the numbers to cogs, drowning their humanity in the icy water of egotistical calculation. Back that up, please. Once again, these statements kind of stand pretty strong on their own, but obviously I'll just back it up just for mechanics stake. Capitalism, if you don't work for those who control capital, you don't eat. Even if you do work, you still may be able to eat if your pay is insufficient. But workers have no choice, no alternative. They must grovel and kiss up for the chance to survive. But what about when pay is sufficient? Higher wages only lengthen the chain on the wage worker, relaxing the tension of it. They do not change the fact that the chain is still there. I mean, once again, communism is like, it's a very strong economic standard on its, like, if you just read it, but enacting it has always sort of had a bit of a low track record. Be it the CIA or the, like, nation's downfall itself. Business owners use cheap labor to benefit themselves, accumulating more capital, privilege, and economic power. Clarify it for me, baby. The forces of the capitalism become more unbalanced over time, not less. True. Entrepreneurs will only require more wealth on the backs of their workers. True. Like Jeff Bezos makes $1 billion every time he blinks. What reasoning do you have to support this statement? Business owners do not return all the capital gained from labor to the laborers. A significant portion goes towards investments, expanding already expansive businesses. So they accrue more power and more ability to limit and control the proletariat, the people. Trickle-down economics. Wealth does not obey gravity, wealth trickles up. Yeah, fuck you, Nixon. Reagan. Fuck Nixon, too. But fuck you, Ronald Reagan. This accumulated power makes such owners to the real ruling class, turning any system into an oligarchy of the bourgeoisie. What do you mean by this? With wealth comes power. Those with enough wealth can twist any system. They can buy off politicians, pressure voters, or self-fund projects. They are the true decision makers. You guys back it up. I mean, once again, look at Jeff Bezos, look at Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk bought Twitter, and now, like, Twitter is just a right-wing, like, Nazi soapbox platform, right? Money is power, representing the sum total of effort to be able to buy comfort and influence. Those with an excess of wealth use what they have to sway those around them, which in turn gives them more power. So it's clear we need communism. Clarification. I mean, once again, I understand asking for clarity on longer statements. This one is only 6 words. I can scramble them for you. Use some synonyms. No, I think I'm good. I mean, back this up. This is not the natural conclusion of it. Capitalism is a problem. It follows communism as the solution. It follows, he says. I mean, this connects to the rest of the argument. I'm just clicking the button. You've presented an argument that there's some serious flaws in capitalism, but I don't see how that alone leads to we need communism. Couldn't these issues be solved with, I don't know, appropriate regulation?
Nonsense.
I've been nonsensed. Any attempt within capitalism to control the flaws of capitalism will inevitably be undermined by the bourgeoisie. They will use their existing power and influence to undo any limitation on their power. We can only prevent this by putting power entirely into the hands of the workers. Empowering the working class added the idea slate. And this would solve the problems of capitalism? Yes, only under communism can everyone's needs be met. Statements relevance revealed. Communism, section of publicly owned. Clarify. System that allows business class to generate wealth would instead belong to the people. Instead of wealth becoming concentrated at the top of the capitalism, prosperity will be equitably spread among all workers, from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs. Back that up, I guess. Can there be any doubt if we prevent the inequities of capitalism, society would be better off? We could guarantee every citizen the resources they need. The workers have nothing to lose but their chains. Communism must be implemented. But how? Excuse me? How would we distribute the resources and wealth as needed? All the goods we produce, they're concentrated in different places, right? One place produces shirts, another chairs, another makes bread, another catches fish. How do you get the fish to the shirt people and the chairs to the bread people? Even if we believed this system is better than capitalism, we need some idea how it would actually be implemented. Once again, the whole thing of working on paper. The world is complex, and trying to reorganize it is even more so. Rebelling is easy, governing is hard. Rebelling is most certainly not easy. Attempts to nail down and critique a specific implementation of communism are nothing more than utopian navel glazing. You must understand that the overarching issues in capitalism is how necessary the alternative is. So you're conceding that you have no idea how this could actually work. No, I'm saying there are several ideas thoroughly explored by my colleagues and successors. I shall illustrate one historical approach. Illustrate me, baby. Those most in tune with the spirit of revolution must come from the vanguard party to lead the people and defend them from class enemies. Now hold on a second here. Isn't that just creating an oligarchy? Okay, we'll get to it. Council of workers chosen from qualified groups will inform the vanguard what is best for the proletariat. All industry and trade will be nationalized, coordinated to meet the needs of the populace. The vanguard party will also be responsible for the political education of the public to dispel the cultural status quo taught by the bourgeoisie. Thus, a successful communist state will be established. You see, with a centralized government, we can distribute goods and resources to those who need them. This course of action was implemented by Lenin as the foundation of what would be the Soviet Union. Indeed, Lenin believed a clear rule of the proletariat was the only way to protect workers from the emergence of a new bourgeoisie. Vanguard is an essential tool in establishing that rule. Vanguard Party added the ideal slate, although it wasn't the original phrasing, the dictatorship of the proletariat. I thought it best to avoid political trigger words. Marx, you are a walking political trigger word. Trying to hide that you're arguing for dictatorship isn't a good look.
Nonsense.
What? Dictatorship of the proletariat, you petty bourgeoisie, not an individual. Absolute power, yes, but in the hands of the workers. I'd like to ask some questions about that. Very well, I can assume the mantle of Lenin for a bit longer. Let the navel gazing commence. What a silly word. Most in tune with the spirit of the revolution must form the vanguard party. Lead the people. Isn't this just an oligarchy?
Nonsense!
If the oligarchy of the rich can subvert any ruling party, what's stopping them from subverting the vanguard? That's not the line of arguing I wanted to take. I wanted to take the argument of, doesn't the vanguard itself become the oligarchy, right? If they're the leaders, don't they, I mentioned that all industry will be nationalized by the government, rich businesses owners will be removed. So wait, where will they go? A nice farm in the country, where they will work like the rest of us. A farm, huh? Whether the farm is a euphemism will depend on their attitude. But the farm. Oligarch sounds like super real and not suspicious at all. Got an achievement. Most of spirit revolution with the vanguard party. Okay, let's get our clarification here. Can you clarify this for me? Core group must lead the fight to overcome the entrenched bourgeoisie. Lenin called this group the vanguard. They are tasked with constantly inspiring and protecting the workers on their journey to liberation. So, an ideological scouting party. Fully armed ideological scouting party. I guess back that up for me. Early on, any communist state will be delicate, so some must step up to defend it. No one actively protects the gains of the workers, a new bourgeoisie will emerge to replace the old. Capitalism is remarkably virulent. Exploitation comes naturally for those immersed in its ways. So the vanguard must counter. Material force can only be overthrown by material force. Okay. Council of workers chosen from qualified groups will help inform the vanguard what's best for the proletariat. Once again, this just feels like an oligarchy. Can you clarify? Once a vanguard is secured a secure foothold, they must seek guidance. This should come from a council restricted to members of the working class, elected directly from trade unions and factories. Miners, farmers, cobblers, assembly line workers, race car drivers, social media managers, game designers. Do they sell their labor to make a living? I think. Then yes, they too are members of the proletariat. Input from all these groups will help create strong guidelines to protect the interests of the worker. Wait, if this council exists to create the guidelines, what happens to the ones the guidelines exist? Then they exist, and they must be adhered to lest class enemies attempt to exploit the discord. Huh, clarifying statement added. Okay, back that up. Vanguard's focus on organizing the revolution separates them from those working in the fields. Establishing a council is essential to ensure their efforts remain aligned. This council helps the vanguard reach an initial consensus, but once determined, the vanguard alone is responsible for enforcing the system. While the vanguard should seek input from all when making a decision, and once the decision is made, it must be adhered to. There's no longer room for questioning, the doctrine is set. Diversity in discussion, unity in action. Okay, back that up. Lenin believed that the avenues created to empower the proletariat would become ineffective if not carefully controlled. Discussion could be a tool for class enemies to reassert themselves, plant conflicts that serve their own interests. Thus, anyone who publicly challenges the will of the people must be viewed with suspicion. And Vanguard decides if someone is a class enemy challenging this will? Correct. How classy. I feel like I can challenge this. Okay, let's go through everything. Let's go. Cause once again, can I hold on? Damn it. Damn it, in my heart of hearts, I felt it to be true. All industry and trade will be nationalized, coordinated, meet the needs of the populace. Nationalizing industry means taking population out of the hands of industrialists and into that of the state. By cutting off the avenues capitalists use to benefit only themselves, you can redirect those efforts to the benefit of the people. What reason do you have to support the statement? A nation is a large, complex affair, but when the state controls the resources, they can efficiently distribute them to the people.
Nonsense.
Seems bold to assume the state will be effective in managing resources. Soviet Union saw famine in long lines during its so-called planned economy. Historical context is useful, but we should not be chained to it. Failures can be learned from. Technology has advanced much beyond Lenin's time. We can still posit the state is best able to distribute goods as needed. Mom, sorry, Pumpkin. I guess I felt compelled to air some old Cold War beef. Old beef's kind of moldy. Oh, man. Vanguard Party will also be responsible for the political education of the public, to spell the cultural status quo taught by bourgeoisie. This is just fancy words for re-education camps. Can you clarify this for me? Capitalism is not just an institution of bureaucracy, it is an institution in our minds. Active efforts must be made to undo the sinister programming. Reprogramming people sounds awfully sinister in itself, Marx. That's the programming defending itself. This means teaching workers they have inherent value, that they shouldn't sell their labor to oppressors for a day of bread. It may be an uncomfortable process, but it's necessary to fix the damage immersion that capitalism can do. Just back that up. Tradition of dead generation weighs like a nightmare on the brains of the living. When immersed in an ideology, people begin to think of the principles governing system just as a right. Hierarchies that are far from natural, of class, race, and gender, are far more disguise themselves as such, and they must be all dismantled. Labor cannot emancipate itself in the white skin where in the black it is branded. Vanguard must help the people identify these entrenched ideas and undo their effects. Okay, let's get to the last one. Thus, a successful communist state will be established. Steps I've described leads to end. First, we lead the people revolution, establish the framework, protect the power from the workers, seize the resource for the people, robbing the capitalists of their ability to subvert them, and cleanse their minds to corrupt their hierarchies of the past. This way, communism will be the standard, no longer a precarious thing that must be defended at every turn. Establish a communist state in 4 easy steps. Okay, I think I can challenge something here. Political education. Let me challenge this one with Power of the Working Class. Yeah. Listen up, Lenin. Don't. I'm still Marx. I have no desire to participate in debate roleplay like the Arbiter. I only wish to represent my colleagues, not become them. Feels like a lack of commitment. No, I can respect that. From the top, then.
Nonsense!
Marx, over and over you said power must stay in the hands of the workers. But Lenin's agents of the people are highly suspect. Everything workers want has to go through them. Vanguard supposedly interprets and enforces the will of the people from discussions, but what limits interpretations that gives them more power? See, this is what I was talking about when I was like the oligarchy of the rich. Morally bankrupt Vanguard could straight up lie, smearing workers who protest as capitalist agents. No matter what they do, they have an excuse. It's all for the people, right? Destroy him, Adney. Metaphorical violence only, please, but yes, very well observed. Is that the extent of your remarks, Marx? Without any checks on their power, the Vanguard could demand anything. They could demand obedience, they could demand tribute, they could even demand you shave that beard. The dictatorship of the proletariat becomes the plain old vanilla dictatorship. Hello, button. There. The workers have no real power at all. These are all valid observations, Ariadne Jones. Conflicts we saw throughout Lenin's career accelerating during the rise of Stalin. Leon Trotsky called this the degenerated worker state, a state in which a working class's democratic control has fallen to the hands of bureaucrats. And of course, he was exiled and assassinated for making such an observation. Worse still are distorted worker states. such as North Korea, in which the worker never had any real control at all. Such bureaucrats see the world as mere object of their action. Well, there we have it. Communism doesn't...
Nonsense.
You go too far, Senator. Using such failures as an indictment of all communist systems will require a reductionist view of complexities of humanity and politics. It disregards the influence of specific individuals, environmental or cultural factors. Plenty of democracy struggle. Capitalism has faltered many times, yet the petty bourgeoisie still defends such systems. Ultimately, though the structure Lenin created was ripe for abuse, there is clear opening for oppression to take the new form. But systems cannot be iterated on, changed while the core goals remain. Or can be, I'm sorry. Let us examine a different approach to the communist ideal, one starkly different from that proposed by Lenin. Advances in technology and automation have enabled workers to harvest a bounty plentiful enough that none need go without. We are denied access to these ample riches only because it serves the interests of the shareholders and the middlemen. But all our advances are the result of collective effort, so production should be operated but not controlled by those skilled in the field. Goods and services can instead be governed by humanity's innate desire to provide mutual aid. Thus, communism can exist free of any state. The economic goal is the same, but the structure couldn't be more different. Communism is the riddle of history solved, and knows itself to be the solution. But there are many paths, trod and untrod, we could take to our goal. This is the approach described in Kropotkin's writings, correct? Indeed, in The Conquest of Bread, Peter Kropotkin laid out the core principles of anarcho-communism. I think anarchy is, dumb as hell. His approach is less implemented than Lenin's, though it was a central philosophy during the Spanish Civil War. It's probably less implemented because it's somehow even less viable. We've come full circle, back to Confucius' dream of everything working out if the people were just nice to each other. You said you didn't hate Confucius. He had some nice thoughts, but you know what? Let's not repeat ourselves here. Go and ask your questions, Adney. Advances in technology and automation have enabled workers... Well, okay, let's go through it. Clarify. Kropotkin was referring... This is probably, not how it's pronounced. Referring to advances in his time. The plow, the engine, irrigation. Each increased humanity's ability to produce hundredfold. Over the last century, technology has advanced even further. Automation, algorithms, the internet... Our abilities outpace even our own imaginations. We could easily provide for all. True. What reasoning do you have to support this statement? Consider some basic numbers. We'll begin with food, a necessity for all people. In your present day, humankind produces enough food to feed 10 billion people, far more than the global population. There's no need for any to go hungry. As for housing, another necessity, most cities have far more empty homes than homeless. People are denied a roof over their heads only because landlords attach prices to the most cannot afford. I agree! But even if that's true now, the world's changing when we eventually exhaust our food supply and housing. Such has been predicted for decades. Our advances have always been greater still. I guess we can't really prove the future. Would be nice if he's right about this, though. We are denied access to these ample riches only because it serves the interests of shareholders and middlemen. Capitalism, those who control production, are incentivized to throttle distribution. True, that's what's happening with gas prices right now. It is better for them to hoard resources than share them. Maybe they're stocking up for the final boss. Those who control production are the final boss. Backing. They need backing. It's pretty... About a third of global food production is lost or discarded or unsold. Lost food would be a factor in communist societies as well, but as for food left unsold, these supplies are not distributed only because it would decrease the value for those who control them. Why give goods away, the executive says, if I can give goods away, fewer people will buy them. Or if I give goods away. Through their efforts, our sources of wealth, by some strange spell, are turned into sources of want. Artificial scarcity. Yeah, that's actually a huge thing right now. Like with gas prices, with fucking food, everything. Some strange spell. Don't let the arbiter hear all this magic talk. The only thing worse than wizards. Business wizards. Alright, to the next one. All events are the result of collective effort. Production should be operated, not controlled. Clarifies me, no matter what the business owner claims, nothing in this world is the product of one person. Everything is built on all that came before, so it should belong to all, with those the most capable overseeing production. Back it. Many capitalists and liberals, Locke for example, believe owning something that is the result of mixing your labor with it. Accepting that definition, can anyone truly say that what they create is the result of their labor alone? All our effort uses technology and ideals built upon the collective efforts of the human race. You build products from materials gathered and refined by a long chain of individuals, transported on trucks, planes, and boats built by more. Well, theoretically, everyone in that chain was paid for by their theoretically, everyone in that chain was paid for their contribution. Even when true, that amounts to a few coppers to demean us to justify severing us from the whole. All comes from all, so all should be for all. Goods and services can be instead governed by humanity's innate desire to provide mutual aid. Clarify. Mutual aid involves people coming together, freely exchanging and trading to meet each other's needs. With nothing restricting ownership, there's no need to compel or manage distribution. The required transfers will happen over time. What reasoning do you have to support this statement? Cooperation has always been a key to our survival as a species, ingrained into our very instinct. So when everyone is known to have a right over everything, people can freely request what they need of one another. Blankets for the approaching winter, umbrellas for the rainy season, wood and bricks for houses. Even luxury goods will be made through free collaboration of various experts, like your video games and comic books. Even when people request something they need, they get it. And when people request something they need, they get it. If your own needs are provided for, why would you inhibit the needs of others? I mean, you still could. Maybe I just don't like them. Maybe they're just a grouch who keeps pointing at me. I see, and you believe that's enough to deny their well-being? If so, my finger of justice will never falter. Hit him with something stronger, Adney, before he pokes someone out. Thus, communism can exist free of any state. What does this mean? Clarify this for me. The danger of Leninism is the state becoming tyrannical, and there can be no better alternative than having no state. I'm in need of backing. Everything up to this point supports the statement. By following the steps Kropotkin laid out, we can organize a communist society without a central authority. Is that just... It's just that easy. I feel like you could challenge this, eh? What about the Vanguard Party? Marx, this directly contradicts your earlier premise. You said a strong central government is required to protect the communist system. I didn't say that, Lenin said that, and Kropotkin believes something very different. Two different people, two different approaches. That said, the approach is not entirely incompatible. Lenin believed the vanguard state should wither away once their work was complete, opening the door for a more anarchistic system. But of course, that never happened. Surprise. No, it did not. Entirely the opposite, in fact. This is certainly an intense point of debate, even hostility between different people with similar goals. But it's not the fatal contradiction you believe. The vanguard doesn't even exist in the anarchist model. Oh, okay then. Vanguard Party removed from the idea slate. Communism can exist free of any state. It can set the government has an innate desire to provide mutual aid. That's the result skilled in the field. Shareholders and middlemen. Advanced technology and enable works to harvest a bounty. Level that not need to go without. Establish that we have already seen. That's the protection should be operated, not controlled by those skilled in the field. Be operated but not controlled. Hold on. I can challenge this with empowering the working class, right? Nope. Damn it. Ouch, my credibility. How's the connection here? Clarifies what separates anarchist communism from Lenin's model. Instead of state controlling everything, people themselves do. I feel like if I click this, I'm gonna sacrifice more HP. I mean, I'll just hit connections again, just trying to dig for dialogue. Establish the abundance of resources that makes anarchism possible. Shows why it is moral, only fundamental for it should be controlled by anyone. It's a result of collective effort, so production should be operated but not controlled by those skilled in the field. I think I did challenge this and I got owned, right? not. Alright, let's consult. Peter Kropotkin, Vladimir Lenin. Both were communists, but they both envisioned such different worlds. There are documented conversations of the two of them yelling at each other, in fact. Well, mostly Lenin yelled at Kropotkin. Lenin yelled at many people. Now shall we continue and see if we can find an excuse to yell at me? Okay, sure. Let's get our nonsense on. Oh, man. Nah, f me. Oh, man. Okay, let me try this one with... Fuck! Hold on.
Nonsense!
If the people who are making the stuff, they have the power of the distribution. Marx, can we review how business owners deal with excess production? Of course, they hoard the surplus. And why do they do this? They believe it better to limit the supply than provide goods to those who cannot pay. This is one of the major sins of capitalism. Humanity is a means, not an end. Sounds pretty gross, absolutely not behavior you'd want to emulate. Pity anarcho-communism falls into the same trap. What? Marx, the ideal here is that no one controls distribution, that all necessary exchanges happen through mutual aid. But that also means no one's checking the process, no one's making sure it's fair. Each and every transfer is individually negotiated, and in all negotiations, self-interest is in play.
Nonsense.
There's no need for self-interest when resources are abundant. When you have 1,000,000 blankets, what do you gain by refusing to trade one, or even 100?
Nonsense!
Oh. Can you honestly say with all the random things that happen in the world, we'll never be short of something we need? Medicine for an outbreak, fuel for an outage, baklava for a wedding. Well, actually, don't bother. Because you established ample resources do nothing to stop such manipulation. Once true scarcity is eliminated, people invent some to give themselves an advantage. Just like in the unfettered capitalism, free trade is the secret core of anarcho-communism. And with the same core comes all the same pitfalls. Nothing stops me from ignoring the public good for my own sake. Nothing stops me from holding up resources to get more out of my fellow comrades. And most damningly, nothing stops the emergence of the new bourgeoisie, one that subverts the system through clothes instead of through money. Kropotkin might just break into an oligarchy of the rich, but who can break the oligarchy of the stitch? Yeah, no, that was wordplay was awful. You've spent too much time with your father. I can produce terrible wordplay on my own mother. Terrible wordplay and yet solid arguments. Indeed, I will have to share your assessments with Kropotkin at the next Communist Party. Capitalism's insidious roots are difficult to purge. Its resilience is almost admirable. So you admit it's the stronger system. Resilient does not mean good. Tell me, Senator, even if capitalism remains the preferred system of the world, what will happen as machine replaces more and more jobs? Manufacturing has long been dwindling. Soon trucking, farming, analytics, all will be automated. Would you condemn those who perform these roles to poverty? If they refrain for other fields, will those fields not be flooded beyond capacity? The supply of labor far outstripping demand? The production of too many useful things results in too many useless people. The burden passes to you, Ariadne Jones, whether you want it or not. We must find solutions to the problems I described. I mean, he's right, though, right? Like, I'm not a communist, but you have to admit, like, what happens when all the jobs are automated, right? This is why union workers are so adamant against AI and against all these things doing our job, because we know that it's not going to create a utopian society, right? It's not going to, like, all of a sudden the government's not going to, start, we're not going to get free food and free housing and stuff. We're just not going to have jobs. And we're going to all go poor, right? Because that's what's going to happen, right? Because the government's going to be like, oh, well, get a job, automation, like, we can no longer be so easily stripped of our dignity. Thank you for your time, Marx. Alrighty, but that is going to be it for this video. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not your mother, but you better brush your teeth now. Have a good one. Bye-bye.